up? We're here again. I got my good buddy Jeff from Skinz. We're going to be talking front bumpers this time. Two offerings for the Matrix chassis through Skinz and BBA. First is the ultra lightweight crisp ramp bumper. We'll go into that detail and I'll do a full install video here shortly. But what we're going to talk about today, Jeff, is the standard offering for the Matrix with the bash plate. Kind of talk about the two differences.
Well, this bumper has it's a different structure. It's a billet machine nose piece with formed ends, and then it has a pretty robust bash plate. So it's 160 aluminum formed and welded into a structure so that it can take some pretty hard hits. So if you're a guy that wrecks a lot of things, maybe this is the way to go.
And if you're a dude who has like a 900 boost and your skis are never in the air, you can run this one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. So we're going to take a few minutes and we're going to show you guys a quick install on a front bumper with the bash plate. All right. So the first thing we need to do is obviously we need to remove your hood, side panels, and get access to taking off the front bumper. Good. Okay, so now that we have access to the front bumper, it's fairly simple. One thing to note though is what's different a little bit on the Matrix chassis versus an Access is we now have these plastic pieces that are riveted to the bumper. These help locate the hood, and it's actually what your quarter turn that is fastening the hood to the sled. Those are on the bumper now. We'll be removing those. The reason that we don't remove those right now is because one, once the bumper is off, the metal shavings are on the floor instead of in the belly pan of your snowmobile. Okay, so again, we'll be removing a couple T40s right here up in front, a 10mm bolt here, a 10mm bolt here, and one here. Keep in mind two things about these bolts. On your clutch side bolt, you have a ground wire that is going to be on this bolt. And then on the exhaust side, you're gonna have a spring tab here. Take note of the orientation of that tab. Once you take this bolt off, the spring off, we're gonna be reinstalling that tab and the spring to hold the pipe down. All right, so go ahead and you want to take the T40s out first?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so those screws come out really easy. I'm going to take, and then we'll grab a 10mm for here. Throw that on there. I'm going to take the spring off. And then, you know, be careful when you're taking that nut off there. It's easy to drop that nut down into the chassis there. Okay, so now we got the front part of the bumper fasteners removed. Now we'll move to the back. These kind of are a pain a little bit. The bolt doesn't stick out a ton from where it mounts to the chassis. So loosening it like what Jeff did there, loosening it on the nut side instead of the bolt side will prevent you from stripping it.
And we don't use the nut again.
Yeah, it'll come with a new nut. Yep. All right, so Jeff took the easy side, I'll take the harder side.
Here's the ground strap.
Yeah. So right there is the ground strap. You'll see it will go flush against the bumper. Okay. So there's your bumper. Now what we'll do is we'll take our 3/16 drill bit. We can take it over the trash here. You don't need to drill all the way through the rivet. You're basically popping the head of the rivet off to be able to access the plastic pieces that will rivet onto the new bumper. So one thing to note, guys, is after you drill these off the bumper, they are directional. You can read the word front right here, and that will tell you which side of the bumper that it will be on. So again, they are directional. It even tells you which way. Just make sure before you rivet them back onto your new bumper that front is towards the front, and you can read it, all right? All right, guys, we tilted the sled on its side to show you the install of the bash plate. First, we'll have to remove the 2 factory rivets here, and then we'll be installing the bash plate.
Yeah, and you want to make sure that once you get the bumper off, you install the bash plate before you install the bumper.
All right, Jeff, you were saying one note on the bash plate from the rivet standpoint.
Yeah, the bash plate holes are slotted, and typically that's for fitment, but we're going to put one rivet in, and then we're going to slide it to the back of the slot. Okay, so we're going to hold it in there. We're going to kind of center it, and we're going to install that rivet. Now the plate is made so that you have to push it up a little bit. And that's because we don't want it to be too tight, because we want it to apply pressure here. So if we're center where we want it, then we can line up and we can drill these 4 holes.
Okay, so swap into the 1/4 inch drill bit, and these will be for the 4 bolts that will be holding the bash plate to the nose cone. Okay, so just to remember, the washer and nut go on the inside, and the bolt uses just the head against the bash plate. Okay, and those are 10 millimeter on the inside and a 4 Allen.
Now we don't take the tune pipe out to do this, but you do have to kind of work your hands through there and get everything in.
All right, now we got our 4 bolts on the bash plate. Now we can throw our last rivet in. And this will be a good time. You can flip the snowmobile back on its side, and we'll throw the bumper on. So right here on one of the bolts, you can see it actually comes through the foam here. So you can literally, I mean, this foam comes up really easy. There's the head of the bolt sticking through there. So just, you know, you can take a razor blade to make that a nice clean cut. But literally you go through the foam and then put your washer and nut on. All right, so guys, I got the bolt in there, and then just remember, you know, don't forget that ground strap there. And it goes on the very outside, so the nut will be holding it in. And then again, remember using the provided Skinz nut that came in the kit there. Okay, probably leave those loose for right now until we get
the nose bolt in. Yeah, nose bolt uses the OEM hardware. Okay.
And then our 2 T40s here. Okay, we got our 2 T40s. We can go ahead and start tightening.
So I put the spring on before I tighten that nut.
Okay.
And the reason why is because it holds the spring where it's supposed to go.
Okay, yeah.
So before you tighten this nut and bolt, install the spring back on the tune pipe.
And as you saw, Jeff do over on that side. One thing, when you get the bolt kind of just about all the way done, instead of trying to turn this head, there's just not a lot of the head exposed. You'll tighten it on the nut side to finish that off there. All right, guys, so now the last step on the bumper is mounting the quarter turn plate here. So how we do that is you put your hood back on, and what that does is it locates where this is supposed to be on the bumper. So remember, I've got the word front written on the piece, so that's gonna go on this side and be in the front here. So what I'll do is get that on the bumper, and as you can see, like, this is where I can find the happy place for the bracket in the hole. And then I'm gonna just take a silver Sharpie. I'm gonna mark the back hole here. Mark the back hole with my Sharpie. And that'll give me my spot where I'm gonna drill the first one. I'll mark and drill that one, rivet it, and that'll align me for the front hole there. Yeah. Yep. Cool. And then again, for drilling, what I probably should have done is grabbed a vacuum. You can either do that while you're drilling, or you can do it afterwards. We'll, in this case, do it afterwards. After I drill my hole, I'll get in there and get the metal shavings out. But now that I've got my hole marked here, I can get this plate on, rivet the back hole, and then that'll align me for the front hole, drill the front hole, and then we're mounted. All right, so last step here, we got our plastic mounts on the bumper that locates the hood. Put our belt, you can line up the hole there. It uses the factory deal there. Get our hood back on. And then, so one thing to look, so you can see how you want to make sure, obviously, your brackets line up with your holes, which they do, and then you can put your side panel back on. All right, wrapping up the front bumper install. Pretty straightforward. The bash plate first, then you wrap up with the actual protection piece. It's a really cool looking bumper, adds protection, styling, makes your matrix even more badass.